Welcome back. In the second part of our interview, Ehud Barak talks about Israel's military preparations to deal with what it sees as threats in the region. And he also tells us about his ambition to be Prime Minister again. Israel has repeatedly described Iran as the biggest threat to stability in the Middle East. Would Israel carry out a preemptive strike against Tehran and its nuclear facilities?
I think that the Iranians are determined to reach nuclear military capability, and I found it something that all neighbors understand and are quite disturbed by, as well as the rest of the world, because I can hardly see a stable global world order if Iran turned into a military nuclear power, following North Korea, Pakistan, and who knows what will follow. And I think that for the time being, it's a major challenge for the whole world, not just for Israel. And the time is still for diplomacy and sanctions, but much more effective sanctions. We keep saying that we do not remove any option from the table. I propose to others not to remove any option from the table as well. But when we say it, we mean it. I don't think that we have to detail this kind of statement, but I think that Iran is a challenge for the whole region, for the whole world, and basically it's at the core of a triad of challenges: military nuclear proliferation, radical Muslim terror, and rogue states. All are very clearly present in the Middle East, and it's a challenge for the Arab moderate world, for the free world, and for Israel.
Moving now to Israel's northern front, the Visegrad Commission into the Second Lebanon War identified a lack of preparedness in the Israeli army. Now, it was under your premiership that Israel withdrew from southern Lebanon. To what extent would you accept responsibility for that lack of preparedness in the army in the months leading up to the Second Lebanon?
No, my decision to pull out from Lebanon was under UN Security Council Resolution 427, I believe, where the UN delineated the blue line to the last centimeter. And we pulled out from every square centimeter of Lebanon. That was the source of legitimization for Israel to attack in 2006. And it was the opening for 6 years of the most quiet situation along the Lebanese border. It's true that in the meantime, we found our armed forces focused on what happened in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and found itself kind of pushed under two fast procedures into a full-scale war in Lebanon. This doesn't mean that Israel is not still the strongest power around, and we are making a full, high-intensity effort to rebuild all the capacities that are found to be slightly weaker in this Second Lebanon War. I'm confident that any future challenge to the IDF will be met by a totally different result.
How much of a threat then do you think that Hezbollah presents to Israel today, and would you be ready to go back into Lebanon again?
Israel increased dramatically its preparedness. At the same time, the Hezbollah increased dramatically its arsenal of rockets of all types, and they have now some 40,000 of them, covering practically all habitated Israel. And so the balance is delicate, and for the time being, the present, the Syrians considering to push into Lebanon even other elements that could be kind of breakers of the subtle equilibrium. We are watching it very carefully. In a case of a further eruption of violence, situation will be totally different from the previous war, and I would not have recommended to anyone to test us on this. I feel that for the time being, neither Hezbollah nor the Syrians really want a full-scale clash with Israel, but only time will tell where we find ourselves.
If we can talk about Syria now, do you think that you can reach an agreement with President Assad over the Golan Heights?
I don't know. We, of course, have interest in making peace with any other neighbor. We can do it, I believe, in this tough neighborhood only out of a position of strength and self-confidence. We negotiate. I've negotiated with his father, basically with Farouk Shara, and Walid Mualem, and several others. And we tried our best. It failed at the time because there was no readiness to make the final decisions on the other side. And probably it had changed. I'm not very optimistic. It seemed to me to be more a kind of preliminary contacts toward a further negotiation next year. But we are always ready and will be ready to go for a real deal as long as it takes into account the needs of Israel, not just the needs of Syria, but needs of Israel in terms of security arrangements, early warning, demilitarization of Golan Heights, water issues, and so on. And of course, the nature of normalization.
You're talking about wanting to achieve a peace agreement with Syria, and yet at the same time, we hear reports of belligerent actions in Syria, the bombing of an installation in Syria, also the assassination of Muhnia. I mean, is Israel talking peace here or acting war?
We have no privilege to discuss these issues, and I will not respond on either kind of allegations, but it should be clear that Israel is here to stay, that Israel is strong, that if our vital security and national interests are at risk, we will not hesitate to act. It should be understood by anyone. It is this country from where the great prophecy about the days that might ultimately come when the lion and the lamb could lie together. As long as the practical practice is that the lamb had to be replaced every few days, we prefer to be the benign lion.
Just summing up with a question about you and your own political future. I mean, in the past, in fact, in a letter to your party membership back in January 2007, you admitted having made mistakes as Prime Minister in the past. Do you think we're going to see another Ehud Barak premiership? And if so, in what way would it be different?
Yeah, we are different every day, but our basic character and identity remains the same. I'm planning to lead Labour to the leadership of this country, as we used to be along most of the history of this state. And I'm confident that when the time comes for the people to make decisions about the real situation of Israel, the real challenges, Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, the Hamas, the peace negotiations with the Palestinians, the peace contacts with the Syrians, and the coming economic slowdown, people will look for someone who has an inner compass, not just a bellwether, and will look for leadership with experience, with the courage to take the decisions and the strength to implement them. And that's what I brought in the past and ready to bring once again in the future.
Ehud Barak, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera.